So this will be a slightly different video from what I'm used to posting. This is not a cleanup video or restoration video, but this is a collection video, and I'll be going over some of the number one Mark IIIs that I have in my collection. I have these stacked by date and grouped by manufacturer. So going from the top, I have a 1915 Lithgow, it's made in Australia. I have a 1917 BSA, made in England. And we have a 1918 GRI, which is made in the Rifle Factory, India. Below that is another BSA, 1937. That one is a Mark III, not a Mark III Star. Below that, we have a 1941 BSA. Below that, we have a 1942 Lithgow. And at the bottom, we have kind of a mystery, but did go through a factory repair in 1947 at the Rifle Factory, India. So that being said, let's delve into these and we'll go over some of their features. So first up on the list is this 1915 Lithgow. This is made in the Lithgow factory in Australia. And you can see by this stamp right here, it did go through a factory repair in 1944. And the MA stamp is for the Lithgow factory. You can see it has a really nice marking, 1915 with the older style Lithgow stamp. This would be switched out before World War II. You can also see it has a magazine cutoff, and the magazine cutoff is an interesting feature where it will prevent rounds from the magazine from loading into the chamber when you work the bolt. And there's a couple reasons for this. One of them, safety. Also, it allows you to keep a full magazine and you can load rounds one at a time into the chamber. So it's a pretty interesting feature. It did get deleted later on in the service life, just to speed up production during the wars. And basically, you just push this down and it pops out, and you can see it exposes the magazine. And of course, when you pop it back in, you'll see that the magazine is now cut off. One of the kind of annoying things about this feature is if you have it popped out, sometimes it can pop back in by bumping up against things, your gear or objects around you. So it can kind of be a nuisance, constantly having to pop that back out. You can also see that this has some reinforcements put in it, some brass pins. Those are also in the bedding of the rifle as well. The Australians did put some additional reinforcement in the rifles. And moving down the rifle, you can see it's got a really nice coachwood stock. This one I got privately in a private purchase. Pretty fair price as well. And overall in really good condition. Next, we're moving on to a 1917 BSA. You can see the date right there. This is a Mark III Star. And you can see there's no magazine cutoff in this one. There's no stock disc as well. Those started to get phased out early in the First World War. You really don't see them by 1916, 1917. They disappear off a lot of rifles. You can see the stock's in really good shape. This was actually a B grade from Royal Tiger, so I was pretty impressed with its condition. It's overall in really good shape. Bore's really nice as well. Finish is kind of worn, but otherwise really good shape. This is a 1918 Indian made Enfield. See, it still has the stock disc. See, it has that GR stamp. It's basically for King George, and you have 1918, and it's a shortly Mark III Star. This one's in pretty good shape. It has the earlier style cocking piece here. You can see that it has the same one on the 1917. Stock's in really good shape. This was another Royal Tiger purchase. Overall, pretty good buy. I mean, a lot of these Royal Tiger rifles are only like $350, so a pretty good deal. Next is the 1937 BSA. This was also made in the Birmingham Small Arms Factory. You can see it's got the stamp there, 1937. And this is actually a Mark III, not a Mark III Star, as it was made in the interwar period. This did go through a factory repair in 1955, so a lot of these parts might have been replaced, particularly the stock, but you can see it does have the magazine cutoff as well. Another cool aspect to this one is the bolt does match the receiver, so it's kind of rare for something from Royal Tiger. You can see it has a reinforcing screw, pretty common on Indian-made Enfields, likely done when it went through the factory repair. It's got a pretty good stock and some worn finish on the nose cap, but overall in good shape. This is another B grade from Royal Tiger. Next up, this is a 1941 BSA. You can see it's kind of faint, but did put some chalk in there. 1941 date. Those are a little more uncommon, as around 1941-42 they're really transitioning over to the number 4 pattern rifles. However, the needs of the military at the time for the British required a lot of Enfields, so they were still producing them, particularly with all the parts they had hanging around. You can see this one has a really nice stock as well. Pretty good finish. Next up is another Lithgow. This one's a 1942. You can see it's got that coach wood stock. Those same additional reinforcing pins. This one did go through a factory repair as well in the mid-1950s at the Lithgow factory. You can see here this is the later type of stamp from the Lithgow factory, that MA stamp. As you can see, it just has the Lithgow factory. It doesn't have that stamp as you saw in the 1915 example. It's a pretty cool date. I mean, this is the time where Australia was really engaged in the war and needed to churn these Enfields out. They're fighting in New Guinea. A lot of their Enfields have been captured in the fall of Singapore. So it's pretty high stakes for them at the time. Overall, this one's in really nice shape. An interesting feature about Lithgows is a lot of their tooling came from the US, not Great Britain. So you can see that the screw here for the nose cap on the side is flush with the rifle. It actually screws in. Whereas on a lot of these other examples, you'll see that that screw kind of protrudes. So you can see on this example. So it's another minor difference between the Lithgows and the other manufacturers. This one's kind of a mystery where this one was made and when, as the manufacturer mark was ground off, but it did go through a factory repair in 1947 in India. You can see it got some stock repair here. They filled in the stock disc here with a piece of wood and put two, looks like little dowels through it. But you can see the original marking is gone. So it's hard to say where this rifle originally came from. But it does have a factory repair stamp on the other side, dated 1947. And overall, this one's in pretty good shape as well. It's got a good bore. You can see it has a screw here, which is probably done when it went through factory repair. Looks like it used to have one here as well, but that got filled in. And overall, the finish on this one's pretty nice. So it's hard to say where this came from. As the original marking was ground off, but still an interesting rifle nonetheless. And some examples of bayonets. Both of these are 1907 pattern. This one's a Wilkinson Sword Company. You can see there. It's got some light pitting on it, but otherwise looks pretty good. See, it's still got a pretty good blade to it. These long bayonets became a bit impractical later on in their service life, but at the time, bayonets of this length were pretty standard for rifles to give that extra reach. And this one is made in the Rifle Factory Ishapore, also a 1907 pattern. This one's in pretty good shape actually, looks barely used. So hope you enjoyed the quick tour of my #1 Mark III Enfields. Did a quick overview on them. If you have any more specific questions about them, feel free to comment below. I'll be doing a few more videos like this on some of my other collections, namely the Martini Henry rifles, the K98s, and my Carcanos. So keep an eye out for those. If you subscribe, you should get alerts for that. Feel free to like if you enjoyed this video, and if you'd like to see more of these. And again, if you have any more questions about these rifles, feel free to ask below, and I'll answer them in the comments. Thank you for watching.